We like to say relationships are assignments and what that actually means. Mhm.
What are what's your definition of relationships or assignments? What comes through you when you hear that? And where does that come from?
Where's
Like,
it that term?
yeah, yeah. I mean, why is that so poignant for you?
Hmm. Yeah, this is something I'm really, I guess when you say assignments, I'm like, okay, what's an assignment? Assignment is usually, people think of it as school or you've got something to do or get marked on. Um, and in life, I think of it as our assignment to come down here and to truly live an authentic life, to be in truth, to um, experience life. Um, and I don't know if I like, well, now that you're saying that, I'm like, I'm not sure I like the idea of the assignment because you get a good grade or a bad grade. And maybe I like to think of it more of like being on assignment, like as in an adventure or um, an opportunity to experience life fully in an adventure. So I think of an assignment as that way. Um, it's kind of like in the movies we see all sorts of people on adventures and we really want to see them enter snake pits and have these challenges with people and different things, and it's very exciting and we get to watch the movie and we experience all these excitement, but when it comes to our real life we don't want those things for some reason. um, and so for me it's about kind of embracing the fact that our life and our world is the greatest movie we will ever get to experience, and to be able more to observe it and experience it and notice the power that we have to really enjoy life through others as as mirrors mm, to our most divine nature, which allows us to create so many amazing things. Tracy and Chris are building sweats out there, and relationships allow us to build things that we can't do on our own. Um, Dre, there's no way I would have built the conscious communication class that we did without you and without your reflection and the ideas that I get stimulated from. Um, and my ex-husband and my daughter, like there's just some people who play such a pivotal part in your life that in order to get our assignment right, we have to be open to experience some discomfort sometimes, I guess. Yeah. To learn anything new, we're going to get uncomfortable. And so I guess the assignment is to embrace that discomfort and to charge ahead in life, always making decisions based in excitement and creativity and curiosity rather than fear. That to me is the crux of the assignment.
Thank you. Yeah. Grand Rising, Nate. Chris
Hey, hey.
says relationships are divine interventions and activations to our higher or highest better version of ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Interventions and
Mm,
activations. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It gives this potency for me, ah, this meaning to why I have the parents I have, why I have my brother in my life, my sister in my life. It provides like this adventure that consciously, I don't know if I chose my parents or not, though it allows me at a higher level that I did for a reason. And I think about this quote of like, people arrive for a reason, season, or eternity. And when I go out to the supermarket, I run into people. Like, what are the chances of that? It's like everything had to line up the day before, the week before, for us to just cross paths in that exact moment. It's as if I'm winning the lottery. And I was sharing this to myself before, like if I think about that, then it's a miracle that I came across this person at the supermarket. So why not say hi? Why not acknowledge their presence? You know? And when I think about relationship assignments, it gives me this excitement of like, let's do life together. Because I know that if I do life by myself, it's a lot easier. I can be in denial, lie to myself, keep myself comfortable. Though it's not a way I'm in a relationship with someone that the activations, like Chris says, the things in me that arise up triggers, reactivity, getting pissed off. That really shows that this is the stuff that I get to work with. That people are truly mirrors for me, and we use the saying that the people that trigger us the most are our Jedi trainers, right? So then it gives me this excitement and joy to be in the relationship and make it work, and have the willingness to commit to working these things with each other. And I think about like if I was by myself, right, in the woods, like a wild man, right? I could be either an animal, like a primal animal, like living amongst, the wolves and being a wolf man, right? Or like be so connected to nature that I'm a god. But let's say I'm a wild animal, right? Just connected. And you bring me back into civilization. I'm so disconnected, right? It's because my relating to you, Summer, my relating to my family, to the people around me is what makes me human. It's as if
Mm.
like a human being is meant to be a human being with other human beings. That biologically they even say we're social creatures. We evolved in tribes, in community. It's like the human experience is to be with other people, is to be in relationship.
Mm.
And so if I'm in a relationship with you and I see my triggers, all parts of myself, that is the process of human making. I am becoming more human. And if I call you and you call me towards my authenticity, and this is what fills me up so much, is if this work is revealing what's happening underneath the hood, moment by moment, revealing my authenticity, what makes me human. And our teacher says, connected to life. When I see you, I'm connected to life. When I see others, I'm connected to what makes us human. And that gives me the greatest juice in life. It fills me up so much. It's so juicy. I love it. So spiritual assignments, relationship assignments, bringing all that together, it's like it's the process of me becoming human.
Ah, yeah. And I wonder, human makes me think of human bodies, but you just reminded me of, because relationships are assignments, they're spiritual assignments. And also remind me of who says this, that relationships are our spiritual practice.
Mm. Yeah, Adam
Who is
Jackson.
Adam? Thank you. Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons. Relationships are a spiritual practice. And he'll say, you know what? Yoga, uh, any type of spiritual practice that we do has nothing over relationships, because that is where we're challenged the most. That's where we're get the most joy, the most life is in our relationships, particularly with our family members. And what did that say, Yoda? I missed it. Oh, yes. Tracy is my Yoda, your Jedi Master Trainer. That's right. I love Yoda. I really love Yoda. I love the whole thing about Star Wars, especially when Luke, I forget the type of plane he's in, but he says he's going through the Death Star, this big, gigantic, round blob of what we might call uh, evil, or our shadow self, or whatever, this negative big black ball. And there's only this tiny way in to just blow it to oblivion. And he's in the ship and he's trying to focus this clunky focusing device. And Obi-Wan says, "Trust the Force, Luke." And he's like, "What the heck was that?" He's like, he gets focused again. And then Obi-Wan says, "Trust me, Luke." And so then he turns off and he starts trusting in his own innate ability to sense the world around him. And of course, the story is it goes straight in one shot, and to me, it is one of the greatest metaphors of our life, of really looking outside us for answers when the answers are right in front of us, when we trust ourselves to interact with what's right in front of us.
Mm,
Um, and to talk
mm,
about the life that's going on inside of us, the
mm,
emotions, the energy, the responses, and learn new ways to engage with it that brings about that meaning you say, Dre, that makes it so juicy for you. And so,
mhm. It's that connection as, when you reference the Death Star, right? And it's as if like that's the shadow, the dark side. And I liken it to like facing my shadows and allowing my shadows to be seen. And when I see other people's shadows, there's a relatability.
mm.
There's a connection with that, Like I think one thing that we have in common is that we all have a shadow.
Well, I'm curious because some people, and I don't really like the word shadow in a way, we all have these parts of us that are sabotage or we, whatever. So I'm kind of curious if you would define what you mean by that.
Oh, yeah. It's the parts of me, the personality aspects of myself, of my psyche that I hide away, that I suppress,
Mm.
deny, discard, or kill because I want to belong. I want to
Oh.
fit in.
Mm.
Right? It starts as early as, being a child and looking to my parents for substances, for food, for shelter, and I discard the parts of myself that are deemed unworthy so that I can receive a love and acceptance for my own survival. Mhm. Or cultural expectations or work expectations or societal expectations, who I should be to fit in and blend in and be like everybody else. Yeah. That's the shot.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's how I
Ah,
call
okay. And then that reminds me because, yeah, I remember being in a women's group and one of the women was like, "Well, I'm done with the dark stuff. I don't want anything to do with it." And there's a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And I thought to myself, uh oh. Because the nature of light is that it casts a shadow when something gets in its way.
it. Mm,
And so if we think of it just that way, that something's in the way of the light, of our ability to shine that, as Marion William would say, um, it's not our light that scares us or our darkness that scares us. It's our light. It's our power. It's our ability to, um, and I guess what is that? It's just about affecting others in ways that is meaningful, really.
mm,
And so when we get into shadow, then, or we're into those places where we're hiding and we're ashamed of those pieces, then that's where we fall into depression or suicide or, and then what happens in relationships since we're talking about those? What happens when we hide our shadow sides or we don't listen and we go into this, what they might call toxic relationships? Isn't that just where we're just living out our shadows together? Really?
mhm. Yeah, it's like if I hide enough about myself, it's like trying to get caught up on a lie that I've been telling, and eventually I'll kind of lose my way.
Mm.
And it takes a lot of energy to suppress. And so eventually, just like holding a beach ball in the water, I'm gonna get tired, and it's gonna come out sideways anyways. It's like the unconscious, right? In the form of name calling, judgments. If I'm judging my own self, I'm judging the shadows in other people too, right? It's moving away from the integration of wholeness and acceptance to separation and disconnection with myself. And so it goes back down to like if I don't know how I'm operating and being present with that, then I'm running on autopilot. And I'm not sure when my shadow parts are leaking in and taking over. What we call in our work are the saboteurs, right? The extreme versions of the restless, which is like working all the time and not being present. Then it really doesn't make me as an effective person as I want to be, because I don't totally have sovereignty over myself.
Mm.
Right? So it's all about sovereignty. It's all about recognizing if I allow myself to speak it in a space where I'm not judged, then I'm allowed to see myself. I'm able to start separating myself from those parts of myself, and I'm able to see where it came from. I can do the healing work. I can guide it. I can see the strengths. Though there's some sort of what we call like authority or governance. I know you don't probably don't like those words, or sovereignty or freedom over how I choose to respond. Yeah.
Interesting, because and I wonder how you would say that because, as you said, we are relationship creatures, so we do everything in relationships, and we evolve through relationships. And so I'm really seeing now in the culture so much adrenal fatigue, so much burnout, so much whatever. So there's a culture to me that is reflecting a shadow side of all our natures to disconnect ourselves from source, to overwork, to there's so many addictions. Suicide has gone up, particularly for men. Um, and so, how is it that we've come to this place where it's obvious there's a lot of not so life giving things? And then, how do we switch that around? And a lot of people think it's harder than it is. For me, I've seen people feel suicidal 1 minute and then they're like, oh, I get it. Oh, it's not as hard as we make it out to be to choose life again. And so, how do you see how the culture plays into the individual and then how the individual then shapes society again?
Yeah, that's a big question.
I don't know.
It's a balance, you know. It goes back to like relating and connecting with where people are at, meeting them where they're at, and at the same time, um, raising them up as well. Um, it goes back to like, can I be with you despite our differences? Um, that's the joy of being a human being too, is our diversity of various personalities. And I think it boils down to acceptance, right? To allow like, you know, you to live your life, as long as you're not harming other people. Like Summerland. Let's go to Summerland, and it's got all the summer parts that you enjoy about yourself. And I got Androland, right? It's kind of like, can we coexist um with various shades of colors that we bring forth into this world, um and perspectives. And so I think it's a balance of like, when am I losing myself in the culture?
Mm.
So it's a balance of like, how much sovereignty do I have for myself that makes me a unique individual, that I don't lose myself in the culture? And then what I can contribute to the culture, enjoy the culture, because that's a representation of the human consciousness. Is because as if like I'm in the whole soup, and like I can reject it. I can be like, castrate myself out of that, but I'm disconnected to reality, right? To where people are at. It's like me decided to, you know what? Screw society. I'm going to live in the woods and do my own thing. Though, how am I really impacting like the human consciousness? Perhaps I can do my work there as one person. But I think for me, it's much more impactful if I put myself in the city and do my work with the people around me and impact them with my presence. Hmm?
Well, I mean, there's a physical presence, but then I also believe more in also the collective consciousness, the 100th monkey rule, a monkey in wherever Africa washes his potato in salt water, and then a week later, a monkey that is not physically connected to him in several continents over learns the same way, right? So, um, I don't necessarily think we need physical presence to do that, although I think there is something extra special um, for the human race in terms of physical touch or physical presence that does add to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I believe it accelerates it. We're meant to be in contact with each other.
Hmm.
We're social beings. It's the human design, I believe, that human making is to be in relationship with each other. And I agree. Yeah, I can meditate or do my inner work and I affect the field 100%, the 100th monkey effect. Though I think it's much more impactful and accelerates it when I'm in the space, as if Buddha walked in the door, Jesus walked in the door, and it just really affects the space.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember one of our friends, Morgan and Jordan, when they were here, and I was really feeling heavy emotions. And it was one of the most healing experiences. She's a singer, and she just hugged me and sang this song to me, and it just had the deepest healing effect ever. It just so touched me. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I wonder, like in our community, we're not often slowing down enough to touch each other, to hold each other, to dance with each other, to just be. It's
Mm.
like, okay, we come home from work, we make dinner, then we go off to all these sports or whatever. It's such a time constraint um, that really strips us from connection.
Mm.
And even in our class last night, one of the ladies was saying that, one of her greatest um, aspirations, one of her greatest things that makes life meaningful is community. Yet people get into community, especially if they're on land, and they get so busy doing and getting stuff done that, oh, she's like, oh, I forgot that I'm actually here to connect with people, not do stuff.
Mhm.
So it's
Mm.
such an interesting conundrum in a way.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they always say, we're not human doings, we're human beings, and that's a reminder. Yeah,